Yes, it does, because we all know as humans that sometimes what we say doesn't reflect what we do. And so that what a customer say and what a customers do is really important to have both of those sets of measures in place.
All right, today we have with us Amy Shore, Executive Vice President, Chief Customer Officer at Nationwide. So welcome, Amy.
Hello, and thanks for having me with you.
Yeah, great to have you on. You've spent the last year building out a new role, Chief Customer Officer, in a company with nearly 100 years of history. So tell me about that experience. What does a customer-centric culture look like, and how do you set the stage to start thinking differently?
Our board and our CEO strongly endorse from the top down a customer-centric culture. And in fact, I came into my role at the same time our new CEO, Kurt Walker, did. And we shortened and simplified our mission statement at that time to say we're going to protect people, businesses, and futures with extraordinary care. It really doesn't get much simpler than that we're focused on our customer and we exist to provide extraordinary care to our customer. So that was a terrific foundation. So then what? What is a chief customer officer and what does one do? So after quite a bit of Googling, I will confess, started laying some additional foundation here. Things like a customer scorecard that measured what are our customers saying about us and all of those survey results. And then what's happening with our customer outcomes, our business outcomes as it relates to customer premiums, policies in force, retention, those important statistics. So let's put it all on a scorecard and figure out what we're going to measure with regard to our success. Then things like understanding what are all the different ways we hear the voice of the customer in the organization, and how can we bring all that together to make sure we're integrating the data and establishing priorities of what to work on first. So I could go on and on about that first year, but that was some of the really big stuff was making sure we had the top-down support. We were all really clear about why we existed, what we're going to measure, and how we're going to use that information to establish our priorities.
I love that multi-pronged approach of having the data about what the customer perception and customer experience is, and then also tying in those business results.
Yeah.
Like it really creates this balanced approach that makes sense to stakeholders across the board, I'm sure. And what are the key elements of an outstanding customer experience for insureds, and how does that tie in with the agent experience?
Nationwide's such a broad and diverse organization. When we use the term customer here, we actually think of it in terms of we have two customers. About 96% of the business we do as an enterprise is intermediated. So whether it's agents or financial advisors or plan advisors, we view them as customers as well as the end customer who pays everybody's salary. So we think of them both as customers. So we actually recently went through a process to say, for as diverse as our organization is, can we all agree on some principles that we're going to aim towards, some North Stars that we're going to use for creating good experiences for all of our customers. And we landed on, we want our experiences to be effortless, personal, and reassuring. So we're going to, in 2021, focus on really rolling out how to live into those experience principles across our organization.
I think it makes so much sense to break it down into, those categories. It just makes it so much easier to wrap your head around when you have those 3 points. So I think that makes a lot of sense and is something that can create those connections across silos, across divisions. So that's a great call out there.
Well, and ultimately it's the agents and intermediaries through whom we earn the right to serve the customers. And so we need to make it effortless for them. We need to make it personal for them. And we need to let them feel confident that when they've trusted us with their business, we're going to take good care of the customer.
Absolutely. Nationwide is certainly on the front lines when it comes to building out capabilities in the digital space. Well, how do you approach this aspect of strategy, assessing which technologies to leverage and making those build or buy decisions?
So the first place we start is understanding When do the customers want a digital interaction or solution, and when is a human interaction most important? We call those, what are the mission moments that matter when you really want to have an interaction with a human. So understanding that and how customers want to move in between digital or desktop or phone or human interactions is important. But thanks to some significant investments we've made in modernizing our core platforms, we now have the ability to use APIs to interact with digital solutions, digital customer-facing solutions. So sometimes we build those, and sometimes we use external resources. A great example of that is recently in COVID, we released to all of our pet customers, Nationwide is the largest insurer of pets in America, a teledoc service for veterinarians. So we didn't build a teledoc service. We found a great digital teledoc service that existed and formed that partnership and made that available to our customers. And then, of course, the relationship we have with both Penguin to have access to commercial digital storefront and capabilities is another example of we didn't have to build it in order to get a great solution in market.
I think that's so key, right? Is understanding what the customer wants and not making assumptions. Because really we talk about digital versus human as if it's either or sometimes, but really it's that hybrid model that I think most people want. And I can certainly relate to that as a consumer. There are times when I want digital and there are times when I want the human touch. And sometimes you want a combination of both across that process stream. So I think understanding how that plays out for your customers, that's just so key, right? And a big part of that of any digital strategy, as you mentioned, is partnerships. So what role do you see partnerships playing in the next evolution of the industry? What are the hallmarks of a successful partnership?
First of all, we look for partners who have certainly the right technology on the right platforms with the right cybersecurity, all of those things you would expect. But we also look for partners where we have an alignment of our values, the values of our company and the values of their company, and also the focus on the customer and the understanding of what the customer really wants and needs. So partnerships will continue to grow because as we think of ourselves as a protection company and not just an insurance company, we'll form more partnerships in the spectrum of protection.
That's something that I personally get really excited about when it comes to the evolution of the industry, is that subtle shift over to proactive service as well, and just really expanding the value proposition of insurance. As you mentioned, protection, being there for your customer in ways that we hadn't previously considered as an industry 10 20 years ago. I think that's such an exciting opportunity. So it's really cool to see Nationwide leveraging on those types of technologies.
Well, and it's happening on the financial services side of the house with partnerships with outside organizations like the National Council on Aging and development of digital tools to help people understand when should I start to take my Social Security benefits. Not, it's a complex combination of decisions people have to make as they're moving toward and living in retirement, and how can we bring solutions to help people do that more successfully.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat today. Really enjoyed your perspectives.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Amy.